Hello, I am going to make the fluffy peony that is included in the kits that's in my Deluxe Paper Flower Toolkit with the peonies. I'm doing it in, this is a dark burgundy color that it comes in, and I hope we can see it well enough. The next time I do it, I'll do it in the ivory that I know probably shows up better. And when I do that, I'm going to use pan pastel to color the inside of it. But this is a simple flower. I think the trickiest part is getting the center so that you don't see any wiring or how it's put together. I'm really picky about that. I like to not see the construction of a flower as much as I can when I put it together. And this one, if you don't get the kits in that kit, I also sell the SVG. It's part of the Shrub Rose Fluffy Peony SVG. And we'll be using 2 layers of the bottom petals, 1 layer of the middle petal, and 3 layers of the top petals. Now, this is just a 3-inch flower. If I was doing a larger flower, I might be adding more of the top layers because you just want to be able to fill in so that it just looks like a fluffy peony, not being too crowded, but not with a lot of gaps either. And so I'm going to make this one today on the stiff wire. If I'm doing it on a panel, I use the flexible Oasis bind wire, but I'm going to show you how to do this one. Because the trickiest part and the very first thing that you do is make your top layer because you want to get the wire glued into it and dried so that you're ready to assemble the whole thing. So what we'll do to start, let me click over here and see if I happen to have any access. No, it's not showing me. Okay, I thought I would be able to see the live on Instagram, but I can't. So if you're on Instagram and want to make any comments, you can hop on over to YouTube or Facebook and you should be able to access it there. So I'm going to be doing what I call ribbon curling. That's how I start to shape these petals. You put a stick or a paintbrush handle on top of it and your finger behind it. And because these are very narrow at the center, you want to pinch the petal before you pull on it, or there's a good chance you'll just rip it off. And sometimes you do rip it off, and you can still shape it and glue it back like I just did there, and glue it back into the flower. Now, I will save that one for not the very top, but I'll save it for one of the middle ones. So I will do another one. Because it's very easy you can see how you could just put a little glue on it and tuck it in there and you will not notice. So I will do this again, curling each of these. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I want to add some shape to the center. I'm going to press and draw toward the center. And one of the things that I'm doing is actually kind of breaking down, and then I'm going to scrunch it too, because I want to break down those fibers a little bit so that I can get it down into a small shape. Because what it's eventually going to look like is something like this. So I will also curl these. So for each petal, I'll take the stick and wrap it around and kind of curl it on one side backwards and the other side forwards. And if there's a middle part, you know, you can just shape it any way that you want. We're just adding some random curls and swirls. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this stiff wire here. I will shape a little loop into the end of it. So I use these round nose pliers. and just make a little loop. Can you see that up there? Okay, so I just make a little loop, and then I'm going to glue that into this flower. So there is a hole in the center of the petal. And what I kind of do is use the one little petal. I use that to cover the wire. So I'll put it like kind of across from it. And I will actually use hot glue so that we can work quickly with it. If you only have white glue, you can glue it and clip it, but you want it to dry before you actually assemble your whole flower. So I'm just going to try to add just a little bit, because otherwise it really adds more bulk than I want it to. Let me just pinch that over, and I let that dry. It actually doesn't take long because it's hot glue. And then what I try to do with this is kind of get it as small as I can. So I'm going to be folding the petals over on top of each other. Can you kind of see what I'm doing here? I mean, they're sticking out like this, and I'm just going to fold them over wherever they kind of naturally hit. And I will put some white glue in there. I'm not going to, you could use hot glue if you are really good with your glue gun. I don't like the strings and the bulk that it adds. I want it to keep it, I want it to be hidden. I don't want it to show. So I kind of glue those in place. I might even fold you over again because I want it to be pretty small at the bottom. And wherever you fold it over, just add a little bit of glue so that it stays put. And then I'll put a clip on it. And then by the time I'm done shaping the rest of the flower, this will be ready to go. So I'll just set that aside now and start shaping the other petals. Now the sepals, this part here, you can do, so like for this one, I just did a simple little ribbon curl of it. I've got glue strings on my finger. I just did like that. But on this one, you can see there's more shape and dimension. I rounded it a little bit in the shaping cup of the plastic mold. And so that's what I'm going to do with this. You can do it either way. I do like the dimension that gets added with a quick little dip in here. And I just use the metal ball tool and just apply pressure. It's really quick. Apply pressure to the entire surface of that part, and it just takes a round shape really nice and fast. And I just like the extra dimension that it adds. And for these little bits, since I'm going to have it on a wire where you'll be able to see the bottom of it, I take my thumbnail and curl it. You could even use the shaping stick, and it just gives it a little bit of shape. And then you can kind of pull those down after it's all assembled. Okay, so now we will build on the DIY paper flower tool. Well, no, we're not going to build yet. We'll put this on here. I still have to shape the petals. I have some shaped already, but I'll show you here. These are all 3 layers get the ribbon curl, where you cause them to curl up. And then on this bottom layer, I use the shaping stick and I just round over the very edges. And I do that on each petal, just a little round over. And you can see the dimension that it adds. It takes it from being a very flat piece of paper with not a lot of character to just really looking, much fuller, much fluffier. And so I do that on the bottom layers. I do the same thing on the middle layer. I curl all of those up. And I just kind of round over the sides. They have this little extra bit that I just give it a little flip up. You can do these in different ways. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then all of the top layers are shaped the same way. Just like we did with the very top, they all get ribbon curled up. And you twist one to the back and one to the front, and you just go all the way around, shaping all of them in the same way. I have them all shaped already. So I'll do a quick shaping with the ball tool, and then we'll be able to assemble it. Do that. Just applying a little bit of circular pressure to the center of the petals. Let me move you out of the way so I don't mix up what I'm doing here. So 2 at the bottom, 1 at the middle. I'll apply a little more pressure to that because we want it to draw up a little more. And then I will have 2 more very top ones. And let me see, that one. I will apply pressure and draw toward the center and give it a quick swirly. And you can always scrunch them on the bottom if you want them to come up more. But this is a pretty small flower, and there just isn't a lot of room for the different parts to go. So you don't have to put that much effort into exactly how you shape it. And so we can put glue, a little donut of glue on top of the sepal layer, and put our first layer of petals. And I apply pressure with the sticks where the different layers of paper meet. Do the next layer. And it really starts to take shape. I mean, look at the profile of that and how much shape it has already taken on just from that very simple shaping that we did. And now I'll add the 1 layer of middle petals. Do want to make sure that it is offset, even though they're not exactly the same kind of petals. I want it to not line up perfectly with what's underneath. Okay, and then for these 2 layers, I'll apply glue directly to the back of it, right around the circle. And I do look for the little petal and make sure they're not lined up. That's just an easy way, because I don't like it when I build a flower and realize that sometimes maybe you've put identical petals right on top of each other. And I just think it doesn't look quite as good as it can. I'll do this layer here. And I use the pointy parts because there isn't as much room now to apply pressure, because we don't want to flatten all the nice shape that we have created. And we just want just a little bit of space so that when we go and insert the center, that it should just disappear in there. And so I've got one here. It actually ended up a little bulkier on the bottom than they usually are, but it was because I added a little more hot glue, but it should still work just fine. And so what I'll do is I'll get the wire through the center, And if you don't, sometimes things maybe have kind of, maybe some paper has gotten on top of the hole. A little awl is a really nice tool to have if you need to open that up a little. Even the fine point tweezers are good. You can use them as a little awl, but you do want to make sure that you clean any glue off of them that gets on there. So I'll put the wire through the hole that is in the center. And then I don't like to use hot glue for this just because I think it's messy for me. But if you are more comfortable with hot glue, you can certainly do that. And so I'll just put glue on the very bottom of that layer. I do it upside down because of, you know, gravity can make the glue drip down. But I can see that I've got glue in there. I can see the glue now, but this glue does dry clear and it will not show after it has dried. And I think that looks really good. And you can't really see how the center pieces were there. And once, because that was pinched tight, after it has dried, you can come back in and kind of open it up a little bit so that everything looks the way you want it. But that's how you make a 3-inch fluffy peony.